Good afternoon. I'm Dara Bunjon. I'm the food enthusiast here at J More Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us live, drop your comments and questions for my guests or myself into the comment box, and you'll see me turn my head from time to time to check and see, and we'll address any questions or comments that you might have. Today's guest is a friend, a fellow food enthusiast, former creator of Women's Wine and Dine, initiating the Giving Spirits Foundation, Sunday dinner salons. She's an author, One Zip at a Time, and 21 Recipes of Comfort, and most importantly, Alex's mom. Let's bring in Monyka Berrocosa.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi. Thank you for having me, Dara. Big heart emoji. Love.
Back,
Love you,
back,
Toots.
back
Big
at
crab
you.
cakes after the holidays.
Yeah, we'll go there. Absolutely. So, other than doing the show today, Monica, what else is on your plate to do?
Well, I think like all moms, working moms especially, who have the hardest job, stay-at-home moms have a really hard job, but working moms try to do the job of a stay-at-home mom. They also try to do the job of a dad who's out doing the things. Um, and I'm just, this morning I started my day by bringing food to the police officers because in Annapolis we have an amazing police department, and the police really fill in the blanks when other emergency services are not available. So yesterday I brought food to the firefighters because they fill in the blanks when the police are busy. And so did that, went to Great Harvest Bakery where my friend who owns Great Harvest hooked me up, gave me some food to drop off at the police officers. Then got some Christmas presents ready. Not all of my shopping done, but quite a bit. I'm fortunate because Alex never asks for much, but other people, the team, my staff, interns, everybody who helps needs some recognition for their hard work at this time of year. And then really spent the rest of the time supporting a lot of my fellow Jewish people who are struggling with what's going on right now in the world. Bad things are happening, and bad things are happening in Gaza, and both sides are suffering. So I also sent some support to my Muslim friends because we're not there on the ground. We know that things happened, and our people have been persecuted forever, Dara, but their people are dying too, and the ones that are really suffering are the children. The children
Right.
are in the middle of the conflict. And one thing I tried to teach Alex growing up is that hurt people hurt people.
Yeah. Well, talking about Alex, Alex is your son. And one of the reasons we're here today is when we spoke back in February this past year, you had put together a cookbook for Alex, who turned 21, and all he wanted was the recipes that you made. And this has gone to like the next level. Now that book was called 21 Recipes of Comfort. It was a cookbook. It was basically a PDF, and you're reworking it, updating it a little bit, and you're now doing something with that and your charity, the Giving Spirits Foundation. So let's address that first and talk to people. And actually, this PDF is available through your website, but tell them a little bit more about it.
So yeah, so when Alex turned 21, because here in the States, when you turn 21, you're an adult, right? In Canada, you become an adult when you become 18. In Europe, you become an adult when you become 18. In the awful parts of the world, you become an adult way too soon. Um, and I said, what do you want? And he said, well, Mom, I don't really need anything. You like to donate money to good causes. So why don't you donate whatever you would have given me for a 21st birthday present? to a good charity. I trust you to pick a good charity. And he said, the Giving Spirits has been helping people for 20 years. So just pick a charity. And he said, I want you to make a cookbook. And I said, well, Alex, I've never really written a cookbook. I mean, there's some recipes in my first book, and I published recipes as a food writer and a wine writer, but I don't know if I'm professional enough to write a cookbook. And he's like, oh, Mom, come on, you're the best cook ever. Like, just write a cookbook. So I said, listen, I can't. He was like, I want this recipe, that recipe. It was like 100 recipes. I was like, Alex, that's overwhelming. Why don't we do 21? Because you're turning 21, and let's just pick 21 of your favorite recipes. And he picked 20. And I added one that he should have in there for his own edification, his own knowledge of his history. His grandfather's Spanish, so I added a recipe for that, for Spanish tortilla. But anyway, I published this book during the pandemic, where I was spending most of my time as a business coach helping people kind of scramble to save their companies, because most of the hospitality businesses and many businesses, like everything just fell apart in the pandemic. Hospitality businesses had to scramble and start doing to go and outdoor seating. And people always need to eat. So it was an essential service, but they had to figure out the rules for how that was going to work. And yeah, so I wrote the book, and then I made a perfect bound copy for him, edited it, everything, and gave it to him, and he was thrilled. And then sent you a copy because you asked for one. And then somebody reached out and said, "Hey, we'd like to publish this book." And I said, "Okay, we can talk about that." And that's going to happen in 2026, but we do have the digital copy. And what I thought was, since you gave me, as always, you're so generous, the opportunity to be on the show today, I thought, why don't we 10x it? That's a term from software startup world. Let's take this PDF and do good with it. So I decided to create a mechanism so that people who pre-order the digital copy between now and the first of the year, 80% of the profits is going to go to support really worthwhile grassroots charities in Maryland. And we're doing kind of the cardinal points. So we've got a great charity in Annapolis, and we've got a great charity in Baltimore. We have a really good charity in Frederick, and a charity in the Eastern Shore, and we're looking for one in the northern part of the state, the Cumberland area. Um, and my goal is that 80% of the profits of the pre-sale of the digital copy pre-order will help to feed people who are hungry.
through the Giving Spirits Foundation. And just to let people know, that link to access the digital on this book, 21 Recipes of Comfort, is already up. So that is up
Yeah.
in the comments section.
Right.
And
They
you,
can go to my basic website, monikaberrocosa.com, and they can Venmo, or they can click on the link and pre-order a copy. It makes a great gift. I mean, everybody needs something to eat. Everybody likes a little comfort. And you and I both know, because we swap recipes and share stuff. There's nothing like a home cooked meal. I mean, you can go to your favorite restaurant, and I just went to Galway Bay and had lunch, and it was amazing. Sometimes I go to Harry Brown's up the street and have a fancier dinner. Sometimes I go to McDonald's, wherever, but the best food is food that's been made with love by people who know you and know what you like. Like, you were going to make me prime rib this week, but I couldn't get there. And I have a rain check and a plan for that. But yeah, I think what today's world needs is comfort, basics, spaghetti sauce, macaroni and cheese, pancakes, like all the carbs, all the things that are
right.
delicious that make you feel good.
Well, you don't have to do molecular cooking at home to be a star. You just
Right,
need to make that comforting bowl of soup or
right,
that that chocolate pudding, whatever it is, something people feel love when you give them food. And that's
Exactly. And I think that, a lot of people are intimidated. Like, remember when we used to work at Van Spices and we were working with like Jacques Pepin, Julia Child, and Martha Stewart was putting out her spices, and Alton Brown and Floyd Cardoz, and
may he
we were
rest.
Van Spices was doing the private label spices for these amazing chefs. What everybody got really excited about at the office was like when Anne would bring in her homemade pimento cheese, or you would bring in like you made this
Biscotti.
really good bread pudding or whatever you made. And um, at the end of the day, fancy food is good and there's a reason for that. But homemade food is what really soothes the soul, especially in these times.
Absolutely. I introduced you in saying that you're a sommelier and your background started in working in a wine shop in Delaware when you were married and your husband was going to school there. He was French, blah, blah, blah. And you assisted and you became a true professional in wines. Now we have the holidays coming up. People's table are going to be meat, it's going to be poultry, maybe it's vegan. Any suggestions on some wines?
Well, I mean, it's a loaded question because, particularly in these times with everything that's happening, people are very territorial about their preferences. So, for example, like right now, because of all the talk about tariffs in the US, Canadians are they're drinking Canadian wines, and there's amazing Canadian wines made in Quebec, made in the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia, made in Niagara Falls. There's ice wine, amazing ice wine, which we call Liquid Love because it's delicious dessert wine. But here in the US, it's like a time to buy US. It's a time to buy US made products. And I mean, my God, Napa Valley beat out Bordeaux 30 years ago or more. Sorry, I'm probably getting the dates wrong, but there's amazing American wines, right? And not to say that Bordeaux wines aren't good, but the reality is most of the good Bordeaux wines are drank by French people because they keep the good, every country keeps the best for itself, for its own. And there's amazing Israeli wines. There's amazing Lebanese wines. There's amazing South African wines. Food and wine is a great equalizer. And so, what I usually tell people is holidays, two things work with everything: champagne, sparkling, bubbles, work with everything. You can have slightly sweet, you can have super dry brut, or you can have extra dry with dessert, prosecco, for example, or extra dry cava, which is Spanish sparkling wine, or you can have demi-sec champagne with like a little biscotti dipped in, or a little sweet, chocolate and strawberries and champagne. That's a classic combination. If you want to go a little out of the box, I have a soft spot for German wines. Nick Urbanhoff of St. Urban's Hof Winery in Trier makes delicious wines that are perfect with holiday food. They go great with Chinese food. I eat Chinese food on Christmas Day, and I eat turkey on Christmas Eve because my mom's French. And it goes with paella because my dad's Spanish. So bubbles
It
and
fits all
German
three.
wine. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
We
always say you can have red wine, but red wine stains. White wine, if it's good white wine, can hold up to a lot of things,
right.
oysters, whatever.
Right. We have a question or two. It says, what's your favorite comfort food? If cooking for friends, what's your favorite dish to share and show your love?
Well, my dad made a mean paella. My dad, who passed in 2024, and he was known as the life of the party. He was the original OG. He's the one who introduced me to Ferran Adria of El Bulli, on the Costa Brava, north of Barcelona. And my dad would make a big paella. People always said, like, bring a paella. And the great thing about paella is it's really a rice-based dish. And you can add whatever you want. If you're vegan, you can just add vegetables. If you're a pescatarian, you can add vegetables and fish and seafood. If you're into, eating meat, you can add chorizo or you can add, pieces of chicken or even duck can be very good. Pork, which some people don't eat, but if you do, you can put that in there. Bacon, not so much, but another comfort dish is like macaroni and cheese with bacon, and there's a recipe for that in the book. Or like a really good bread pudding. A lot of times people get like panettone in Italian for Christmas or the holidays as a gift. And they're like, what do I do with this? Well, Italians know you slice it up, you toast it, and you put really good marmalade or toppings on it and you eat it for breakfast. But if you have that left over, you can make an amazing bread pudding with it and just throw a bit of chocolate, bit of orange, cook it all up. It's yum, yum, very delicious.
All right. So, is that your favorite comfort food?
I think so. I mean, it oscillates. I'm a woman. Some days my favorite comfort food's a burger. Some days it's pizza. Some days it's crab cake. Some days it's
Your favorite
chocolate.
food is whatever you're eating that day.
Exactly. So long as it was made by somebody who knows how to cook.
That's questionable. Which brings me to AI. We were going to talk about artificial intelligence in the kitchen and how to embrace it and not hate it. And you told me to ask you about quantum is
Yes.
computer and
So AI is powered by quantum. Quantum computing is a multidisciplinary field that harnesses like the laws of quantum mechanics. So if anybody's read any of Stephen Hawking's books or heard of Neil deGrasse, both of them are quantum physicists. And what quantum does is it allows you to solve complex problems exponentially faster than even the most powerful classic supercomputers. So IBM had the first classic supercomputer, and all the big tech companies are racing to build the biggest supercomputer. But the reality is that the power of computing required is so big that we need to go to quantum. And so quantum computers operate using three physical phenomena: superposition, which, unlike a bit, which is text speak, 0 or 1, qubit can be weighted combination of both states at the same time, kind of like salt and pepper in a dish. You need a little salt, you need a little pepper. This
and the
allows
AI is
yeah,
the algorithms.
well, AI supports the algorithms. The algorithms are trained with, so it really begins with data modeling. So what a lot of people don't understand is that the beginning of AI actually dates back to the 50s. And the 60s is when a gentleman by the name of Lofty Zadeh kind of realized that there were patterns that repeated themselves. And if you looked at mass amounts of data, just like if you read a ton of cookbooks, you begin to know like certain things. You begin to understand how to make a roux, and that's the base for a sauce, for many sauces. You begin to understand that certain things need to be cooked at the top of the oven, other things at the middle of the oven, other things at the bottom, other things should not be cooked in an oven. They should be made in a slow cooker or an Instapot. So anyway, Lofty Zadeh was the father of artificial intelligence, which was the precursor to AI. And then what happens is that we have something called LLMs, which are learned language models, which are trained on existing data. So things that are already available, published books, the internet, research papers, things that exist on the interwebs, that have been validated by people clicking on them multiple times. Or trusted and verified by real news, which is quickly disappearing, unfortunately. The proliferation of fake AI news is a problem, and it's one of the reasons for division in this country. But anyway, so you can leverage AI, and right now, if most of the people have an Alexa in their home. And a
Right.
lot of people are very uncomfortable. They're like, I don't want something listening to me. And I'm like, the world is listening to you. We have police cameras on street corners, at street lights, like your car is a smart car. If you are connected by Bluetooth, which by the way was invented by a woman, an actress, Hedy Lamarr, who was a Jewish refugee who escaped an abusive husband. True story, German husband, came to Hollywood and whoever was the head of Mayer Studios, Metro Goldwyn Mayer Studios, fell in love with her because she was gorgeous, but she was a brainiac. And she created the basis for Bluetooth, which connects everything and allows things like AI and quantum to function.
Right. So how does the homeowner, okay, in the home kitchen, how
Hmm.
does this apply to them? Now, I'll talk about recipes in a moment,
Hmm.
but how does AI help people in the kitchen nowadays that maybe they're not aware of?
Well, I think it starts with AI is really like kind of the supercharged search engines. Okay. So AI helps people in the kitchen acting like a smart sous chef. You know, we know what a sous chef is, right? Offering like it can do everything from personalized recipe generation to smart appliance control, adjusting ovens automatically. Like I have a great new oven in one of my homes. It's a Samsung oven and it's a smart oven and there's an app. So I can be like, oh my gosh, I won't be home in time to take the bread out. It's going to burn. I can adjust it on the app and it's going to stop the oven so the bread doesn't burn. It can help you manage inventory if you have a smart fridge. It can reduce food waste, which is really important because in this country we have so much abundance and people buy way too much food and don't use it. And it can even handle like prep, making cooking easier, more efficient. Like some of the new, the new food processors have AI, smart technology, so they can test, like, do you need it to be like a really fine dice or do you need it to be pulverized for a sauce? And it helps the average chef. It equalizes the playing field. It allows you to cook with the precision of Martha Stewart and the knowledge of Julia Child and the finesse of Jacques Pepin, you know?
Right. So it's the technology between their phone and the
Yeah,
refrigerator and the
yeah,
stove and food processor. As these
yeah.
new come out, they're smart. And then there's something that you can do on your tablet that would sit there and tell your oven what to do. It's all interconnected.
Exactly. And I think the key benefits are really it's efficient and time saving. So you can like say to Alexa, which is owned by Google, you can say, Alexa, sorry, owned by Amazon. You can say, Alexa, what's a substitution for an egg? Because you and I know, because we've been to culinary school and we've been around a lot of chefs and we've read a lot of cookbooks. We know that for an egg, you can substitute a tablespoon of flaxseed and some oil, and that makes something vegan. You can also, in a pinch, if you don't care about vegan, you can take a tablespoon of mayonnaise. There's egg and good quality mayonnaise. That works. It can also, if you're trying to eliminate or limit the amount of sugar you eat, you can substitute like half a cup of applesauce for half a cup of butter or half a cup of sugar in a recipe. So where you can leverage AI and the power of really what's behind AI is quantum computing as our computation needs grow is just being a second brain. It's not better than your brain. Just like a sous is often technically and more talented than the executive chef, but the executive chef is the executive chef because he did all the work, he went through all the stages, he trained with all the brilliant chefs, and he knows how to design an amazing menu. So AI is like the sous.
Right. Well, I do want to tell people, and we sort of talked a little bit about this. One of the downsides are a number of the recipes that we see on the internet when you go in and say, I want a chicken cacciatore recipe.
Hmm.
AI gathers from information that's come from many sources, and some of those sources could be great cooks and other ones not. There's nobody testing that recipe. So I was taught a way to make sure that I'm getting a recipe from a chef, whether it's Nick Maggiari, whether it's Jacques Pepin, who's ever is up on the internet, is to say chicken cacciatore, leave a space, put the minus AI, and hit your Google search, and it'll eliminate any artificial intelligent recipes. Now, some of them could be good, some of them maybe not. And we talked back in February that, knowing how to read a recipe and look at it and understand, you can, if you've been doing enough recipes, you can look at it and say, that's not right. That doesn't make sense. So just a little tip if you want to be a little bit more concerned about the recipes that you're pulling, whatever the title is, leave a space minus AI. I want to get back to the Giving Spirits Foundation and what we're doing with 21 recipes of comfort. Now, this is only $9 for the PDF at this time, but
Yeah,
you have a,
it's sorry.
yeah, you have a goal of, hopefully getting maybe $100,000 to donate to these different charities.
Yeah, I mean, so my day job is kind of three-prong. I'm a change management consultant with larger companies in the industrial sector, sometimes government agencies, sometimes governments. Change management consultant. And then I work as a business coach and I work with CEOs and decision makers of, everything from startup companies to companies exiting to Fortune 500 leadership teams. And I've learned that you have to name it to claim it. And I have to walk my own talk. So when I decided to do this, I was like, I know, I always tell my clients, like, you have to have a big, scary goal. You have to have a big, scary goal because you have to have something to work towards that is so big that you can keep your eyes focused on it because focus is everything in successful business, whatever business you're in. So my goal is like, I'm sitting here going, well, we have, 7 days till Christmas Day, technically, depending on where you are in the world. And we're the 18th, so we have like 21 days until the end of the year. And I'm like, wouldn't it be amazing if we sold enough copies of this pre-order digital copy thing that we could give $100,000 away in Maryland to deserving charities. And it's really kind of cool because already somebody called me and I haven't even had the time to post this anywhere. And they said, well, we'll for every copy sold, we'll donate $1. We'll match that with $1 for every copy sold. So already, I think we've only sold one or two copies, but already we've made a difference, right?
Right, but the
So
website just went up today, the
well, it
link.
just went up today because that's the way life is in startup. Like sometimes you're building, and you launch the day you're supposed to launch, and it's not always perfect. And I mean, at one point the website looked like shit, and I called the IT people, Stellar IT, based in Annapolis, Will Small's company, and I said, "Listen, we got to get this up." And he came over. He dropped everything. He had like 6 meetings today, dropped everything, came over to my office, and he's like, we're going to make it work. And he mobilized his whole team and they made it work. Um, but the thing is, I think you have to ask for much. To whom much is given comes much responsibility. And I'm very blessed. I had a really good year in business and startup. I had a really good year on the stock market. I had a really good year, sadly, because my dad died and left me a lot of money. um, why shouldn't I try to help people? So if I just put, oh, I want to raise $1,000, I'd be limiting it. And I think it's better to say 100K. And if we get there, we get there. And if we don't, we keep trying. We do other things. We do events. We throw a little party. We charge an entrance fee. Like there's other ways. But I just felt like this deserved because right now, between what's happened with the cuts with Doge, what's happened with the government shutdown, what's happened just with the general state of the world, People are hungry. I mean, I have a friend of mine whose husband's enlisted and is overseas, and she reached out to me to bring over food because she couldn't pay her bills at the end of the month because they have cost prohibitive medical bills for their special needs child. And because the government funding shutdown happened, their insurance wouldn't pay for his treatment. So she had to use their savings to pay for his treatment. And she had no money for food. And because she's not a typical food stamp candidate, she couldn't get food stamps. And she was too embarrassed to go to her pantry, local pantry, because everybody knows her. Like we have to give people dignity. And food and shelter are basic dignities. And when you live in a country where the military is not necessarily covered, and I'm not judging, because we have the same problem in Canada. Um, but when a military family member's got to look for free food, there's a problem.
Well, there are a lot of ills in this world, that's for sure. And each day it gets a little worse. But with the holidays coming up, people, if you have abundanza, if you're in a good shape, think about how you can share. Um, you've covered quite a bit. We've talked about the book, we've talked about wine, we've talked about your entrepreneurial spirit, we've talked about the Giving Spirits Foundation. Um, is there anything, what didn't I ask you that maybe I should have?
I don't know. How much time do we have? You and I can talk for hours, so that could be dangerous.
That can be dangerous, right? Well, then I've devised, since you did the show in February, people can go back in the archives and find our original conversation. It was back in February 20th, 2025. I've devised a couple different other questions for you because you've
Okay.
already done the other ones. These are either or.
Yeah, I did find one thing I want to tell you before you start that, because a lot of people are pinging me and asking me how Alex is doing. So a lot of people don't know. My son, Alex Marbach, had a near fatal motorcycle accident. Um, and I can't get into the details because there's lawyers involved because this is the US and lawyers have to get involved because the cost of his care was, I mean, the bills are still coming in. Um,
He was in
and he
ICU for many days.
Oh my God, he was at shock trauma, University of Maryland ICU shock trauma for 30 days. Then he went to ICU rehab and he was able to come home to his girlfriend's parents' house because I had downsized to a condo up 40 flights of stairs, 40 stairs, so he couldn't come home. He was in a wheelchair. Um, but the reason that I was taking food to the firefighters and the police this morning, and I did it yesterday in Bowie, and we'll do it in Anne Arundel County, close to Jessup, and Columbia this weekend, is because if the firefighters and first responders and police hadn't gotten to him, he'd be dead. He'd be dead. He was hit by a drunk driver who, very nice gentleman, hardworking gentleman, but you know, made a wrong turn, maybe because he was coming from a party, maybe had had too much to drink. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. And my son's life was almost ended. And the people who he almost died twice, they got him to shock trauma, and shock trauma kept him stable. I was out of the country at the time. I was actually relaxing. I was on vacation for the first time in 16 months, and I'd put my phone away, which I never do. And finally my sister came to me and she's like, hey, your son's girlfriend's on the phone and she's trying to reach you. And she was crying, sobbing, and I was like, what's going on? She's like, Alex was hit. And as a mom, to have your child be in ICU and you're in another country, and I couldn't charter a plane. I couldn't get there fast enough. The only thing I could do was my brother, who's a pilot for Air Canada, made it easy for me to get on a flight first thing in the morning. And my husband picked me up and we went straight to the hospital. And he woke up right when I got there, and he was like, Mom, His first words were, "Mom, did I hurt anybody? Mom, is anybody hurt? Mom, is everybody okay?" Not, I'm hurt. And yeah, he's been hurting a lot. He's had 13 surgeries. I may have lost count. That may not be exact. He's had over 40 hours of anesthesia. He's in constant pain all the time. He got out of the wheelchair in May and had a good summer, and then had to have another surgery, which put him back, set him back in his recovery. And he's a really good kid. And all he cared about at Christmas was like, "Mom, take care of the nurses and the doctors and the people that took care of me. I don't need anything." So all I can say is what made a difference when that happened is friends from the US Naval Academy, because my husband's a grad of the class of 91, showed up. I don't know how they got past security. I don't know how they got into the ICU, and they brought food. And they brought food so that we would have something to eat. And I hadn't eaten in 36 hours, so I was really grateful for the sandwich and the Caesar salad. And Alex was super grateful for the soda they brought.
Mm, good.
Yeah.
Well, he's on the mend. There's still a rough road ahead, but it's going in the right direction. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
But
what this, 21 Recipes of Comfort is about, Alex, and his 21st birthday. So,
yeah, and it's about, before you judge somebody, sit down and have a meal with them, break bread with them. I used to do these Sunday dinners in Baltimore, and I would bring people, Republican, Democrat, Jewish, Catholic, Muslim, non-denominational, African American, trans, all different kinds of people together, artists, because I find through discussion comes understanding. And I think if more world leaders spent less money on military equipment and more money on feeding the people that need to be fed and their own troops, and breaking bread with another leader without pretense and translators and all kinds of hoopla, the world would be in a much better place.
good words. All right, now I'm going to get back to food because you know me, Monica. We're all, I'm just, that's all I know is food. So I'm not asking you the typical questions. You have a choice, baguette or croissant.
Croissant,
Okay. Pho or French onion soup.
pho, because you can make French onion soup out of pho.
Okay. Mustard or mayonnaise.
Mayo, always.
Okay. Lobster or prime rib.
That's really tough because really you should be eating both at the same time, surf and turf. But if I had to pick lobster, I'm Canadian lobster. The best lobster in the world comes from Canada, from the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay. A macaroon or biscotti.
Mm. Well, I would say biscotti because biscotti lasts forever. I mean, in a pinch, you could probably block a door with a biscotti, but macaroon kind of disintegrates and they're kind of foo-foo, and I'm not a foo-foo person.
All right. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate.
Dark chocolate, because you can add milk to dark and make it milk chocolate.
You got everything covered. Let me remind everybody in the comments, you can find Monica. Her website is monikaberrocosa.com. I'm not going to sit here and spell it out for you. It's on the screen, and it's monikaberrocosa.com. Her Instagram is mycitym on Instagram. And all those links are up in the comments section. And as I said earlier, links to 21 Recipes of Comfort, which is a PDF. And did you say there's a special word that they might be able to use to get something?
Yeah, so I learned a lot from one of my best media mentors, which is Taylor Swift. I don't know her personally, but I literally follow her and stalk her, and she gets a lot of hate for being successful, like a lot of strong women, but she always leaves Easter eggs. So the Easter egg in this interview is the special code is hungry. And
Just
if
remember
you
that.
Yeah, remember the word hungry. And when we contact you because you ordered something, you're going to get something very special because the people who took the time to help us help people with this initiative are going to get a very special thing. They're going to get an autographed group of recipe cards if they use the word hungry when we contact them to confirm where to send the PDF.
Okay, great. Terrific. And then they can send it to other people as a gift.
Right,
They
right.
can buy a couple copies, once of them. And
Yeah,
this,
I would prefer that people not just forward the PDF because that's kind of cheap and chintzy. We're trying to help charity. If people want to buy multiple copies to give as gifts, they can also just contact us. They can either reach out to me on Instagram, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or they can email my office at monikaberrocosa.office@gmail.com and we'll get them a deal for multiple copies.
okay, great. Monica, I know I'll probably see you soon. You were so busy trying to get this all set up last night. You were supposed to be here, so I ate that whole prime rib by myself, and there's nothing left. I,
No way. You're
uh,
supposed to bring it to my holiday party. I don't believe you. You're gonna have to bring another one.
yeah, Adam. Okay, Monica, I will see you soon, and I have a couple messages for the audience, and then I'm off for 3 weeks. See you soon.
Okay, see you soon. Happy Hanukkah, happy Christmas, Merry everything, Kwanzaa, Ramadan's coming after
Yeah,
that. Happy Diwali.
we're covered. All righty then. Okay, everyone.
Bye. Love you. Bye.
That wraps up 2025 for the Food Enthusiast. This was episode 268 in total of all the shows that I've done here at J More Living. I want to take this time to wish peace, harmony, and goodwill to all throughout the holiday season and thereafter as well. I will be back January 8th when my guest will be Yosef Ahmed, founder of B Sides, the Brooklyn upcycled snack brand, proving that sustainability can be fun, flavorful, and profitable. A former recording engineer turned Goldman Sachs advisor, he left Wall Street to transform overlooked ingredients into better snacks and a better food system. So, the best of the holidays. If you need to reach me, it's at Dara Cooks on Instagram and on Facebook, The Food Enthusiast. You can find all the shows on jmoreliving.com. If you go up to the column, the menu, and it says under food, it says The Food Enthusiast. Click on there. All shows that have been done are accessible to you. All shows are immediately archived in video form on J More Living's Facebook page and jmoreliving.com. We truly appreciate it when you send links to our show to friends and family. Feel free to go back into our archives and enjoy past shows. May your plates always, always remain full. Happy holidays. See you next year.